give us your elevator pitch on HR analytics. What is that? What is like that quick, elevator pitch on, hey Lynn, what's HR analytics?
So HR analytics, and I can only quite frankly speak to in financial services, but I suspect it's not dissimilar in other verticals. When you run HR analytics for a firm, it's the things you probably think about. You're measuring, you're basically reporting out, number of new hires, number of voluntary attrition, number of involuntary attrition, fancy language for got fired. Um, it's those kind of just the running of the business, because every head count has a dollar association. So you always, and so you want to know, what's the attrition rate for a business, because attrition, new hire acquisition is expensive. So you track everything from that basic butts and seats in a shop, how many people leave, your cost for acquisition, because there is a cost to acquire new employees.
Sure.
Um, and that's sort of the surface stuff that you can just kind of push as a canned report, because it helps a business unit understand their salary costs. What most people don't realize is that the highest number on any leader's P&L is their human cost.
Right.
It's not tech,
People, sure.
it's not buildings, it's the salary line.
Hmm.
So that's what we do in HR. Now, that's kind of table stakes. What I strove to do in the 3 years I ran HR analytics for Citi was, what else could we do? So
Hmm.
now you take it down. Bigger organizations will always have, and of course it's made the news again in recent weeks, they will have DEI initiatives.
Hmm.
So then you start looking, and I remember this was one that was pretty important to Citi. What are your diversity metrics? Now, diversity is interesting because it's a self-disclose, not mandatory at the time of application and onboarding. So part of the challenge is it's a self-disclosure. Anybody who's ever filled out an application knows
Hmm.
when it starts asking you gender, ethnicity, race, you always have a I wish not to disclose button on those apps. So all of that information comes in, but if you are responsible for diversity, and I would say the only reason to be responsible for diversity, this is Lynn's opinion, not sanctioned by any company, is I personally believe um, businesses ought to reflect the communities they serve.
Hmm.
So I think diversity is important, and I think it's also important because to me, diversity is about more than just kind of the check the box things. It's also diversity of thought. That being said, so in
Hmm.
HR analytics, it goes back to what I said earlier. What are the goals of the firm around how you manage this most expensive asset at an organization, the human capital? How do you measure that? And what are you trying to accomplish with it?
Hmm.
So then you start looking at everything from what is your makeup of men and women, different minority groups, veterans, disabled populations. Um, it's also, where are you getting your performers from? What colleges are they graduating from? Um, and there's all kinds of ways that you can use the data. But it really, at the end of the day, what HR analytics ought to be about is, what are the goals of a business unit with respect to managing this extraordinarily um, important piece of the puzzle?